perspective of what happened
was very,
very different.
And that just goes to show you how you can be in the same place, at the same time, in a situation, and it looked totally different
to you compared to what Leah's.
But you know, you hear that a lot with siblings.
Yeah.
Siblings who grow up in the same house, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, they'll say, well, this happened Christmas 1995. And they're like, no.
It wasn't that way.
It wasn't that way. You know how people can grow up in the same house, have different experiences with their parents, have a different kind of childhood. It is a trip how so many realities can exist in one space. You know, and you have to respect that. You know, you can't say, well, because that didn't happen to me, that couldn't have possibly happened to you.
Right.
And I think that we spend a lot of time trying to make people wrong and trying to get them to see our side, you know, and see, no. What happened, how I saw it, is right. It's like, no. You can have, you know, what you experienced, what you saw, is just respecting that we had two different experiences, you know what I mean, and can still come to an understanding. You know, so that was a real eye opener for me. It was a big takeaway. I talked about that on Instagram as well, about how you don't have to share necessarily the same reality in order to get to a place of understanding.
Yeah,
you know, it's really that compassion. So, Laurel P asks, any advice for someone struggling to accept the fact that I may have been wrong and ruined a friendship because of it? Forgive yourself.
Yeah.
Forgive yourself, because listen, we're not perfect, and that's okay. And I'm telling you, those times that I've been able to lay my ego and just simply say, I am sorry.
Right.
I'm sorry is some powerful, powerful words. I'm telling you. I'm sorry are some powerful words, and really not having expectation of how somebody else is going to receive your apology or
because the events are really for you.
Yes, the events are for you.
You really got to understand. It is for you.
Right.
You know, and it's, you know, it's extra if the other person can receive you.
Oh man, it's extra and it's a blessing.
But it's not a guarantee.
It's
so you can't go in there with that expectation, because it's not necessarily going to be that way.
Right.
You know, and I just remember in my experience, it was once we got through it all, we were able to sit down and talk. It was just so sad that so much time had passed, and of us not being in each other's life, and it was just such a huge misunderstanding about everything.
It always is.
Just a misunderstanding.
That's usually the basis of almost every conflict, is a misunderstanding.
Was there another person?
Oh yeah, there were several people involved.
Okay.
It was actually a family situation.
Yeah, and that's what that can get.
That can get really
that can make it
testy.
murky.
Yeah, that can make it
testy.
murky.
Yeah.
And usually, sometimes there are other people involved, even if you don't know that they're involved, and even if the people involved, you know, because you get people who do a lot of gossiping. So you have people that are in other people's ears about the situation or about you, and that's one thing I will say. You got to really be careful of getting other people in the mix or listening to other parties that have something to say about your situation. I feel like it's always best to just go to the person directly, because I'm telling you, I have seen that over and over and over again. How, you know, somebody be like, well, you know, she said such and such and such and such. That's not exactly what she said.
Right.
But now you thinking,
right. But also,
that person that you got beef with said something about you that she really didn't say.
Right.
Because somebody told you that.
But sometimes you can get counsel from someone that you trust.
But you got to know the difference between counsel and messy nonsense.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I think also, you know, you got to figure out who's jealous, right? Like there's people around you that are jealous of you, and there's people around you that are envious of you. There's a little bit of everything, right? And jealousy is like, that kind of person feel like you took something from them.
Right. Yeah.
When someone's envious, they just like, yo, I want that too. I'm gonna get mine. I'm gonna hang with. We're gonna figure it out. I want it, but like it's yours.
Right.
But people that are jealous that say things about you or like to keep the pot stirred, though they think they want you to feel some kind of pain, so they'll mix it up and make it negative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you can identify who's jealous, because they're very different.
They are. Yes, they are. We have Palm Tweet.
Envy is healthy.
Do you have any wisdom
Envy
to
is
share
healthy.
about having a conflict with someone who isn't willing to honestly sit down and talk with an open heart? Do you just need to wait until they're ready?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that?
Do you
question?
have any
She was talking to
wisdom?
me while you're talking. You're the host.
Dwayne was talking.
Because she's your mother, she thinks that she can talk. Like if she,
I
like,
couldn't hear the question.
Okay,
If
and
you were
Palm
Ellen,
Tweet.
she wouldn't be talking while Ellen's
Do
talking. That's
you
what I'm trying to
have
say.
any
If y'all
wisdom
wanna
to
fight
share
after the
about
show,
having a conflict with
it's cool.
someone who isn't willing to honestly sit down and talk with an open heart? Do you just need to wait until they're ready? I'm going to answer this question because I don't know if they heard it. Once again. And I think you should wait.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to wait until people are receptive to have, a real conversation. And sometimes it takes a minute. I mean, I'm even sitting here thinking about some of my situations. I'm just not ready yet.
Yeah. And for me, it was 15 years.
Ooh.
15 years.
15 years.
15 years. Well, I had a friend that I didn't talk to for 7.
You know what might work? Like if a person is not willing to sit down with you, right? Maybe a letter first. Because that person doesn't like the tone of your voice. That person don't want to hear your voice. That person don't want to look you in the eye this time. You're not ready to confront
Yeah.
you.
Well,
So
for
maybe
me,
they can read it and it's just clean and clear.
Right, and it gives them time to sit with you.
yeah, and
That's a
absorb
good-
what you're
yeah,
saying. That's not a
absorb.
bad idea. But I have to say, in that 15-year period, we just never ran into one another. So just the opportunity didn't present itself. And I had tried to approach her once before, and it didn't go well, and that was it. And I just never had the opportunity. And every time I would talk about it with other people, they were like, don't think this is a time for you. Just wait. And as it turned out, it happened when it happened, and it was perfect.
Right.
You guys
Because
are
we
right now.
both were,
And
we
you
both
probably
were
did
ready
a lot of growing in that 15 years. And
after
I know
both of us.
in the 7 years that I didn't talk to my friend, I needed those 7 years so that
Yeah.
I could mature.
Yeah.
And be ready to see the situation different, take responsibility for my part, be open to forgiving myself and the other person,
Right.
and having acceptance for just who that person is and for who I am.
Right.
So sometimes you just need that time for growth.
Yeah.
We have a live
But I
question.
like
Oh, we have a
that
live
idea.
question.
Shania Naisha Spillman Crafton asks, you can accept an apology over and over again, but what happens when the person keeps repeating what they apologized for?
That's a problem.
Take it, Gail.
That's a problem. Yeah, because you can't, and you said it, you told me that a long time ago. It's really, really difficult to forgive when the behavior continues. That's not a real, I don't want to say it's not a real apology, but it's not a real change.
It's not a real
So it's just
attempt
words.
towards the healing.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just words.
Yeah.
Words
no
without
real
actions
action.
don't mean anything.
Yeah. They always say love is an action.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love
Love is
is
a
an action
verb.
word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an action
So,
word. Yeah, I would say that might be time to move on, or create a certain amount of distance.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean
Some
giving-
boundaries
some
may need to be set.
boundaries, right? Yeah, but definitely that is for you to look within yourself and figure out what you need to change about you to make it better. Because we
Yeah.
can't,
And I guess too, you have to make sure that the person is clear on what you need in the relationship.
Well, it sounds like
Not necessarily.
It depends on what it is,
if the
though,
behavior
right?
is is being repeated. It's not necessarily so that they are clear on what you need,
Right.
you know. But once it's clear, you've made it as clear as you can make it.
Yeah, that's true.
Is she willing to share what it is? Because if it's just that you leave a little bit of juice in the refrigerator, like, and then I go to get the juice, and it's like a third of a cup. I can't even like take my vitamins with it.
Right.
Like just
That-
drink
just
the
get over
juice.
Yeah.
Just drink it all.
Just drink it all.
We have another one.
Oh, here's another one.
Jada Shank says, hello, fellow Jada. Do you think you should confront a friend you're estranged from if they're the person who has the problem with you but won't tell you why?
Ooh. If you should confront, I definitely think, you know, asking to have a communication about what is really going on is never a bad thing. You know, once again, you just have to see if the person is open to the conversation. You know, but I definitely feel as though if there's something going on that you think you might have.
Yeah, because if you've harmed somebody in some
harmed
way, I
somebody,
mean,
right.
that's kind of, I know it's an uncomfortable feeling for me. Like, I don't like it if I feel like somebody doesn't like me and I don't even know what the heck I did, like, or what's going on. Like, you know, that's an uncomfortable feeling for me.
Right.
So,
Yeah, if you could just ask straight up, like, did I do something? What's
Yeah.
up? Yeah.
and sometimes people just may not like you, and you gotta accept that too.
Or, you know,
I mean, hey,
no, that's true.
everybody don't like you. Let's be real.
Oh, that's true, Gabby. Real talk by Gabby.
Last question.
Uh-oh, here's the last question.
Sabrine Cooks Grayson says, do you think some broken relationships are not worth fixing or healing from?
You know, I always feel there's opportunity for healing, even if it doesn't involve the person. You know, sometimes we have to just. It's nice when we can have communication, that we can have situations like Leah and I had, or Gabrielle and I had. You know, where you can actually come to the table and clear things up and make things better. That's not always the case.
Right. And some
You
people
know?
just aren't good for your life.
Yeah, and I
And
feel
that's
as
okay
though,
too.
you know, we have everything that we need within ourselves to have the healing that we need, and to move on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to just that self-love, that self-care, and if sometimes we're in toxic situations and toxic relationships, and just like you say, Gan, maybe it's just a sign saying this person is not supposed to be in your world, and sometimes that
You
is
gotta
just
let it
you
go.
gotta let it go, and that's okay too. You know. So, all right, guys. Well,
This is good conversation.
thank you,
Dwayne.
Hey, man.
Thank you for joining us.
I'm the
Really
one should be
appreciate
sitting
it.
here asking questions. I'm the broken one here. I
And
should be laying on the couch.
so, guys, Monday, join us. We are going to have our special guest will be Jane Elliott.
Oh, that's
And
a good one.
Join the group and
Talking
follow
about
show page.
Race
Join the
through
group.
the lens
Follow show
of
page.
women. And we don't do that often. Oftentimes when we're talking about race, it's through the lens of men. But our show will be talking about racial issues through the lens of women with Jane Elliott. And it is
A humdoozy.
it's a nice show. So you definitely should join us for that one. But thank you for joining us for our live tonight. And we hope to see you
See you
Monday.
Monday.
Have a good one.